What if I told you that mastering your entire day, and eventually your life starts with just the first hour of your morning, sounds simple, right? But for most of us, mornings feel more like a battle than a blessing. Hitting snooze, dragging ourselves out of bed, feeling overwhelmed before the day even begins. But here's the truth. The way you start your morning isn't just a small routine. It's the foundation of everything. Your mindset, your focus, your power. And today, we're diving into 15 essential Stoic habits that can transform your mornings into a launchpad for clarity, control, and inner strength. Reality check and emotional pull. Now be honest, how often do you actually wake up feeling energized, clear, and ready to take on the day? If you're like most people, you probably wake up groggy, weighed down by thoughts you didn't ask for, and stuck in habits that no longer serve who you want to become. You're not alone. But the Stoics, ancient masters of resilience and clarity, understood this struggle deeply. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive, to breathe, to think, to enjoy, to love." That's not just poetic, it's a call to reclaim your mornings with purpose, invitation, and value promise. So if you're ready to stop letting your mornings slip by in autopilot, and instead start each day from a place of strength, stillness, and focus, this video is for you. We'll show you how to apply Stoic wisdom in real, practical ways that anchor your mind and shape your entire day. If you find value in what we're building here, this movement of grounded, mindful living, take a second to hit that subscribe button. It's free, and it genuinely helps us reach more people looking for clarity in a chaotic world. 1. Wake up early. The power of early hours. Let's be real, mornings can be tough. Your bed feels like a warm cocoon. The snooze button whispers sweet lies of just 5 more minutes. I get it. But here's the hard truth. Early mornings are secret weapons. Not because they make you a morning person, but because they give you space. Space to think before the world starts demanding. Space to move intentionally. Space to connect with your deeper self. Imagine this: waking up just 1 hour earlier. Just 1 hour. It may seem small, maybe even painful, but that hour can become your personal sanctuary, a quiet moment before the flood of emails, notifications, and tasks. No distractions, no chaos, just you, your thoughts, and your vision. Stoic insight and reframing discomfort. The Stoics knew this better than anyone. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Most of the pain we associate with early mornings, it's not real. It's the mental story we tell ourselves. I'll be too tired. It's too hard. But when you rise early, you break that illusion. You prove to yourself that discipline is the real path to freedom. Sure, it's uncomfortable. At first, growth always is. But as Carl Jung said, who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. That hour in the morning, it's not just about waking up your body. It's about awakening your inner world. That's when insight arises. That's when purpose becomes clearer. That's when you start living rather than just reacting. 2. Water over coffee. So your alarm goes off. You stumble out of bed. What's the first thing you reach for? Be honest, it's probably coffee. And hey, I get it. That hot, comforting jolt of caffeine is practically a ritual. But there's something we often forget. Your body wakes up dehydrated. After 6 to 8 hours of sleep, it needs water, not espresso. So, here's a simple shift. Before your coffee, drink a tall glass of water. Think of it as hitting the reset button on your body. It clears your system, jumpstarts your metabolism and sets a tone of intentional care. A Stoic perspective on small habits. Stoic philosophers often said that greatness isn't built in grand moments, it's forged in small, repeated choices. Epictetus reminded us, progress is not achieved by luck or accident, but by working on yourself daily. Drinking water first thing in the morning might seem trivial, but it's not. It's an act of discipline, a quiet message to your mind. I am in charge. I care about what I feed my body. I choose clarity. So, you've just hydrated your body, starting the day not with a jolt of caffeine, but with clarity, intention, and care. But that simple glass of water isn't just about health. It's about something much deeper, the choice to rise above impulse and reclaim control over your mornings. Brain and body. Why water first matters. Here's something wild to consider. Your brain, the command center of your life, is composed of nearly 75% water. And when you wake up dehydrated, which we all do after hours of sleep, it struggles. Your focus slips. Your memory dulls. Even your mood takes a hit. But when you start your day by replenishing what your body truly needs, you're doing more than just quenching thirst. You're gently reviving your cognitive engine. It's like giving your mind a soft but decisive nudge. Wake up. We've got a meaningful day ahead. From unconscious habit to conscious power. Psychologist Carl Jung once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." Think about that for a second. Your morning stumble to the coffee machine. That's not a choice, it's a habit. An unconscious response, played on autopilot. But what happens when you interrupt that loop? When instead of reacting, you choose, that's when you begin to shift. That's when even the smallest actions, like drinking water, become declarations of awareness, of purpose, of mastery over your own mind. 3. Protecting the peace of morning. Now here's where things often go off track. Before the day even begins, you've hydrated, maybe stretched, and then you grab your phone. Sound familiar? 1 minute you're lying there in peaceful stillness, and the next you're neck deep in emails, text alerts, political headlines, and someone's vacation photos on Instagram. Your clarity hijacked, your thoughts scrambled, your peace gone. Why do we hand over the quietest, most sacred moment of our day to noise we didn't ask for? A Stoic reminder: guard your inner world. The Stoics wouldn't have stood for this. Marcus Aurelius famously reminded us, you have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength. And yet every time we unlock our phones first thing in the morning, we're allowing hundreds of outside events to rush in and flood our thoughts before we've even had a moment to think for ourselves. So, here's a challenge. What if, just for the first 30 minutes of your day, you delayed that scroll? No social feeds, no inbox, just stillness, reflection, maybe a few deep breaths, or journaling. That tiny act of restraint gives you space. It gives you power. It gives you back to yourself. Who do you choose to be? Carl Jung also said, we are not what happened to us. We are what we choose to become. So ask yourself each morning, will you be someone pulled in every direction by the chaos of the outside world? Or will you be someone who begins the day anchored, focused, calm, and rooted in intention? The choice is yours. And it starts with the first thing you reach for. Once you stop reaching for your phone first thing in the morning, something unexpected happens. Your mind clears, and suddenly, you're the one steering the day, not the digital world. Presence over scroll. Owning your morning mindset, choosing to skip that morning scroll, does more than just protect your peace, it strengthens your identity. You begin your day with a powerful reminder. You are in control, not your feed, not the notifications. You. Think about how different your morning feels when you trade that glowing screen for a few quiet moments of intention. Maybe you journal, read something that nourishes your spirit, or simply sit still and take a few deep, grounding breaths. Ever notice how, in that silence, you start to reconnect with parts of yourself you forgot? The warmth of morning light, the hush of a still room, even the taste of your breakfast becomes richer, more meaningful. Presence changes everything. Because when you choose calm over chaos, your day unfolds with focus and steadiness, not reactivity. 4. The power of one small, intentional act. Here's a truth we often overlook. Momentum doesn't start with big moves, it begins with something small, doable, and often underestimated. Let's say you wake up, you take a moment, you pull the covers tight, fluff the pillows, smooth out the sheets. That's it. You've already completed one task, one simple act done with care and intention. And that matters. Why? Because it sends your brain a very specific signal. I'm starting this day with structure, with order, with clarity. It's not just about tidiness, it's about mental training. A quiet act that says, today, I lead. I don't wait for motivation. I create momentum. Discipline over dramatics. What the Stoics taught us. We live in a culture obsessed with massive change, transformation in 30 days, overnight success. But the Stoics had a much deeper insight. They knew that greatness isn't built on big moments. It's forged in the tiny, daily habits that feel almost invisible. Cleanliness, order, focus. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Don't waste the rest of your life worrying about what others think of you. It keeps you from doing anything useful." Isn't that what a cluttered, chaotic room often reflects? A distracted mind. One that's scattered, trying to keep up with the world outside while ignoring the world within. So yes, making your bed might sound trivial, but it's not. It's your first promise to yourself. The first declaration of the day that you show up, even in the small things. And when you start keeping those little promises, you begin to build something powerful. Self-trust. Laying the foundation for discipline. Admiral William McRaven once said, "If you want to change the world, start by making your bed." Not because it will change everything overnight, but because it sets the tone. Because if you can't master the little things, how can you expect to handle the big ones? So, you've made your bed. You've claimed your space. That one simple act of discipline, it's not just about the sheets, it's about setting a tone for everything else that follows. The psychological ripple effect of small acts, because if you can show up for something so small every single day, without fail, what else might you be capable of? That ripple effect is real, and it runs deeper than most people realize. Carl Jung, one of the greatest psychological thinkers of our time, believed deeply in the symbolic power of your environment. He once said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." That clutter on your desk, that laundry pile in the corner, it's not just physical mess, it's often a reflection of mental clutter. The unresolved thoughts, the unspoken tension, the buried to-do lists swirling in the background of your mind. And when you begin to tidy your surroundings, something surprising happens. Your thoughts begin to follow. A made bed isn't just about aesthetics. It's about psychological alignment. The Stoic way, purpose over perfection. This is how the Stoics lived. not in pursuit of perfection, but with purpose. Each morning, they deliberately took control over their time, their space, and most importantly, their mindset. So when you pull the sheets tight, fluff the pillows, and create order around you, you're not just tidying up. You're making a declaration. I will not be ruled by disorder. I choose structure. I choose clarity. One choose discipline even in the smallest things. One. When you wake up feeling heavy, move. But let's be honest, some mornings, it feels like your soul is still fast asleep, being dragged behind a sluggish body. Your limbs feel heavy, your head foggy. Motivation? Nowhere in sight. And you might wonder, what's wrong with me? Am I just lazy? But no, you're not broken. What's really happening is simple. Your system hasn't fully woken up. Your mind may be stirring, but your body hasn't caught up yet. And until they sync, you're moving through the day on low battery. So, what's the quickest way to bridge that gap? Move. Movement as ritual, not performance. This isn't about crushing a full body workout before breakfast. It's not about chasing six-pack abs or bragging rights. It's about doing one essential thing, activating your life force. A few gentle stretches, a short walk around the block, a few squats beside your bed, maybe a few yoga poses. Nothing flashy, nothing extreme. Just enough to get your blood flowing, your lungs expanding, and your nervous system saying, I'm awake, I'm alive, let's go. The Stoics valued physical strength not for appearance, but for vitality. For them, movement was a gateway to presence. Epictetus once said, no great thing is created suddenly, and that includes your energy, your clarity, your control. These things are built slowly, intentionally through the discipline of daily motion. A morning ritual with deep impact. So yes, move your body in the morning, not as a workout, but as a ritual, a quiet, respectful signal to yourself. Today, I show up, and that one small ritual, it doesn't just lift your energy, it carries into your mindset, your mood, your work, and even the way you show up in your relationships. Because momentum doesn't come from waiting for motivation. It comes from moving even just a little dot. So you've started to move, to reconnect with your body, and something shifts. But what if the body isn't just responding to your mind? What if it's speaking for it, too? The soul speaks through the body. Carl Jung certainly believed so. He saw the body and mind not as separate systems, but as deeply intertwined reflections of each other. In his words, the body is merely the visibility of the soul, the psyche. Think about that for a moment. If your body feels tense, stiff, locked up, what is your soul trying to say? Is it overwhelmed, numb, exhausted? Maybe it's not laziness you're feeling, but your psyche crying out, trapped beneath layers of unconscious weight. And here's the powerful truth. When you move your body, your mind often follows. Not the other way around. The emotional reset. Hidden in motion. Ever felt anxious? Move. Feeling stuck or mentally foggy? Move. Sad, unmotivated, uninspired? Move. Motion disrupts stagnation. It cuts through the emotional clutter that builds when we stay still for too long. And you don't need a plan, a playlist, or perfect form. Just start. Walk, stretch, shake it off, whatever it takes to get going. Because once that first spark of momentum hits, it sets off a chain reaction. Blood flows, thoughts sharpen, emotions shift. Before you know it, you're not just getting through the morning, you're taking control of it. Don't waste the precious start of your day. Seneca, with brutal clarity, reminded us, It is not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it. And let's be honest, how many mornings have we thrown away lying in bed, scrolling endlessly, waiting to feel ready? Here's a better approach. Don't wait. Don't overthink it. Just move. Do it before the excuses catch up to you. The moment of resistance and the power hidden there. There's a moment right before you step into a cold shower, when your brain yells, "Nope, not today." Sound familiar? That split second of hesitation, that's your comfort zone begging you to back down. But that exact moment, that's where the shift begins. That's the birthplace of growth. Because if you've been craving more mental toughness, deeper focus, or a sharper start to your day, this is where it begins. Not with another to-do list, not with more caffeine, but with cold, clean discomfort. Cold water, a stoic gateway to strength. Cold water doesn't lie. No filters, no fluff, just you, your breath, and your willpower. Let's be real, it's going to suck at first. That's the whole point. It's not meant to feel easy. It's meant to train your mind to do hard things anyway. The Stoics were all about this kind of voluntary hardship. Not because they enjoyed suffering, but because they understood something many people forget. Comfort, left unchecked, breeds weakness. Marcus Aurelius said, "It is not death that a man should fear, but he should fear never beginning to live." In a world obsessed with ease, stepping into a cold shower becomes a bold declaration. A statement that you're willing to choose discomfort, on purpose, that you're here to live deliberately, with courage and clarity. The mental shift behind the shock, and there's real psychology behind it too. Cold exposure snaps you out of autopilot. It jars your system awake. That icy rush doesn't just wake your body, it forces your mind into the present moment. No distractions, no spirals, just sharp, crystal clear awareness. So, you've stepped into the cold, not just the water, but the discomfort itself. You've silenced the inner voice that screams retreat and chosen, instead, to stand tall. What happens next? That's where the real transformation begins. Neuroplasticity and courage in practice, when you choose to stay still, to breathe deeply, and override that instinct to flee. You're not just enduring, you're rewiring your brain. That's neuroplasticity in action. Your nervous system is literally learning to handle stress, not with panic, but with poise. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist persists." And that flinch against the cold, it's more than just a physical reflex. It's a symbol, a mirror of every discomfort you tend to avoid. Fear of failure, fear of being judged, fear of not having control. When you face the cold, you start learning how to face everything else. Stoic fortitude through modern rituals. This is what the Stoics called fortitude. The strength of the mind in the face of adversity. Seneca didn't just talk about it. He lived it. He deliberately fasted, wore rough clothing, and sought out hardship, not to glorify struggle, but to grow resilient through it. In that same spirit, cold showers today are a kind of modern-day resistance training. You step in, feel the shock, and breathe through it. And in doing so, you prove something powerful to yourself. I can do hard things. I can stay calm in chaos. That confidence, it doesn't stay in the bathroom. It walks with you into every room you enter, into high-pressure meetings, tough conversations, and uncertain situations. And it speaks before you ever say a word. The hidden physical edge. Let's not forget the physical payoff. Cold exposure boosts blood circulation, triggers endorphins, and floods your brain with alertness. That sudden chill, it doesn't just wake you up. It clears you out, sweeping away the mental fog and bringing you into razor-sharp focus. Who needs caffeine when you have courage? Start small, build big now. Let's be realistic. You don't have to leap straight into 5 minutes of icy torture. Start small. End your warm shower with just 30 seconds of cold. That's all it takes. One breath-stealing blast. One moment of resistance. One declaration, I do hard things. The Stoics believed that virtue wasn't found in theory, it was forged in action. This is your action. A daily moment of self-conquest. 1. Journaling. From chaos to clarity, and after you've shaken off the cold and caught your breath. There's another practice that belongs in your morning ritual. One that takes you from outer discipline to inner clarity. Journaling. Because let's face it, our minds are often a swirling storm of thoughts, worries, ideas, to-do lists, regrets, all spinning in a chaotic loop that, if left unchecked, quietly poisons our mood, focus, and decision-making. Journaling breaks that loop. It isn't some trendy productivity hack, it's mental hygiene. Just a few minutes with pen and paper can clear out what hours of overthinking never could. No rules, no filters, just honest thought, made visible. Once you sit down with that journal, something powerful begins to unfold. You're not just writing, you're releasing, letting go of the emotional residue that built up overnight. And that release? That's where clarity begins. Emotional and mental unloading sometimes. What pours out might surprise you. It could be a nagging worry left over from yesterday, a strange dream you can't shake, a flash of unexpected gratitude, or a sharp moment of uncomfortable self-awareness. Whatever it is, let it spill onto the page. Don't filter. Don't polish. Don't aim for eloquence. This isn't about writing something beautiful. It's about clearing out the mental junk drawer before life throws more clutter in. Because let's be honest, if you don't empty it now, you'll carry it with you all day. In your words, in your thoughts, in the way you treat others. Stoic. Wisdom in action. The Stoics knew this long before psychology ever caught up. They wrote daily, not for show, not for publication, but for purpose. Marcus Aurelius, emperor and philosopher, kept a private journal we now call meditations. It wasn't meant to inspire the world. It was written to remind himself of who he wanted to be, especially when the world made it hard. In one of his most famous entries, he wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." But imagine, what if he hadn't written that down? What if he hadn't processed his struggles through quiet reflection and ink? That line may have never existed. That wisdom might have faded in the noise. Modern psychology confirms it, and now science echoes what the Stoics practiced. Carl Jung, the father of analytical psychology, believed that the unconscious constantly speaks to us through moods, dreams, behavior, and subtle emotional patterns. He wrote, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate." So how do you make the unconscious conscious? You write. You pay attention. You give your inner world a voice. Deep self-understanding through writing. When you journal, you start to see patterns that were hiding in plain sight. Recurring frustrations, quiet fears, outdated stories you've been living by without even realizing it. You begin having an honest conversation with the part of yourself that rarely gets to speak, the part that doesn't have to impress anyone. That's where transformation begins. You start seeing your problems more clearly. Your decisions feel less overwhelming. You can finally tell the difference between what actually matters and what's just noise. Journaling is sanctuary, And even on your worst days, your journal becomes a sanctuary. You can show up anxious, angry, confused, and it doesn't judge. It listens. It holds you. On your best days, it becomes a vault, a storage place for insights, ideas, small wins, and flashes of clarity you'll otherwise forget unless you take the time to capture them in your own words. Daily practice equals daily wisdom, Seneca once wrote. We should every night call ourselves to an account. He believed that regular self-examination was not just a good habit but the very root of wisdom. Morning journaling, then, isn't just reflection. It's self-leadership. It's emotional decluttering. And most importantly, it's you taking control of your mind before the world tries to do it for you. Just like journaling clears your mind, setting clear intentions for your day gives that clarity and direction. Because reflection is only half the equation, the other half is action. From fog to focus, you know that strange feeling when you're not overwhelmed by doing too much but paralyzed because you don't know what to do at all. You wake up with a little spark. Maybe you even feel ready to take on the day. But then noon rolls around, and suddenly you're bouncing between tabs, checking messages, starting 5 things but finishing none. By evening, you're drained not from overworking, but from aimless effort. And worst of all, you've got nothing real to show for it. That's not laziness. That's the absence of a clear target. 2. Why goal setting matters when your day doesn't have a direction. Your energy leaks out to anything loud enough to steal your attention. Every notification, every distraction, every meaningless task feels urgent. That's where setting daily goals becomes non-negotiable. Not some abstract, grand vision board kind of goal. I'm talking about something practical, tactical, immediate. Just 3 things. Not 10, not even 5, just 3 clear, achievable tasks that matter today, tasks that move you forward rather than just keep you busy. Busyness versus progress, because let's face it, being busy doesn't mean you're being productive. If you don't define what success looks like today, you'll end up chasing everyone else's idea of it. The Stoics understood this deeply. They didn't leave their day to chance or emotion. They didn't wait for inspiration to strike. They took charge. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Simple, yes, but also sharp as a blade. If you don't decide who you are, the world will decide for you. A tool for self-realization, and modern psychology backs it. Carl Jung believed that goals aren't just about external achievements. They're instruments of individuation, tools to become your fullest, truest self. He put it this way: your vision will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes. So, when you take the time to set your goals with honesty and clarity, you're not just planning your schedule, you're sculpting your identity. Keep it small. Keep it powerful. And here's the secret. Your goals don't need to be massive to be meaningful. In fact, the smaller they are, the more likely they'll get done. Reply to that one email you've been avoiding. Write a single page. Go for a 20-minute walk. That's it. Keep it simple. Keep it doable. Because when you allow yourself to complete something, anything, you generate momentum. And momentum, that's the spark that keeps the fire going. Progress isn't built from grand gestures. It's built one finished task at a time. Once you've set clear, intentional goals for the day, the next question becomes, what are you feeding your mind to help you reach them? The hidden cost of a distracted morning most of us don't realize. just how delicate our mental state is when we first wake up. Within seconds, our brains go into search mode, scanning for input. Something to grab onto, something to react to. And what do we usually offer it? Outrage, clickbait, doom scrolling. One swipe at a time. We flood our minds with chaos before we've even had our first sip of water, before we've even had a chance to think clearly. And the worst part, we barely notice it happening. We think we're just checking in, but what we're really doing is handing over our mental clarity to the loudest voice online. One. Your mind is hungry, feed it wisely. Here's a truth we don't hear enough. Your mind, just like your body, is hungry the moment you wake up. It craves focus. It craves clarity. It craves meaning. And just as your body performs better with clean, nourishing food, your thoughts perform better when you feed them clean, meaningful content. If you fill your head with noise, don't be surprised when your day feels scattered. But if you start with something substantial, something that grounds you, inspires you, or even challenges your assumptions, you give your mind a powerful foundation to build from. What the Stoics taught. The Stoics understood this long before smartphones existed. They believed the first thoughts of your day shouldn't come from the world, they should come from within. They should be chosen, not inherited. Seneca advised us to associate with people who are likely to improve you. In today's world, that includes the voices you let into your head each morning. Your mentors aren't just in person anymore. They're on the pages you read, the podcasts you hear, the ideas you absorb. 10 pages of a great book, a thought-provoking essay, a podcast that stretches your thinking. These are your real morning allies, more potent than any feed refresh ever could be. 2. Intentional input equals inner strength. And no, this isn't about trying to become some cold, rigid intellectual. It's about being intentional. Because, whether you realize it or not, you're being shaped every morning, shaped by every input, every post, every soundbite. So ask yourself, what kind of thoughts do you want shaping your decisions? What kind of emotions do you want driving your conversations? What kind of values do you want steering your life? Lead yourself first. Carl Jung said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." And feeding your mind on purpose is action. It's not just wishful thinking, it's leadership. Even Marcus Aurelius, Emperor of Rome, began his days not with political briefings or military strategy, but with reflection, his meditations. He understood something we often forget. Before you can lead others, you must learn to lead yourself. And that leadership starts with the first thoughts you allow into your mind. Once you've chosen to fill your mind with meaningful input instead of noise, there's one more habit that elevates your mornings even further. One that shifts your entire mindset from passive to powerful. Start small, but start intentionally. You don't need to conquer an entire book before the sun rises. Forget perfection. This isn't about checking boxes or building some unattainable morning routine. It's about consistency and starting small. 10 minutes, a few thoughtful pages. A podcast episode that feeds your mind truth instead of noise. That's all it takes. Think of it like tuning an instrument before a performance. You're not rushing into the chaos unprepared. You're aligning your thoughts with what truly matters. Before the world starts pulling at your attention from every angle. The power of a quiet mental rehearsal. Some people wake up and immediately get swept away by the day, half asleep, scrolling, already reacting to emails or social media. But others, the ones who seem grounded, composed, clear-headed, they start differently. They take a few quiet minutes to see the day before they live Not on a screen, not in a planner, but in the theater of their own mind. They close their eyes and visualize the version of themselves they want to embody, how they want to walk through the day, how they want to speak, respond, and carry themselves. Not with perfection, but with purpose. And that intention makes all the difference. Visualization, not woo-woo, but science-backed to some. Visualization might sound vague or woo-woo, but it's actually one of the most grounded, science-backed techniques for reshaping your mindset and steering your actions. When you vividly imagine yourself succeeding, when you see it clearly, in detail, your brain starts to build the neurological pathways necessary to bring that vision into being. You train your mind to expect success, to spot opportunities, and to block out distractions. It's not magic. It's biology. And when practiced consistently, this small morning ritual can rewire your mindset to act in alignment with your highest goals, instead of falling into patterns shaped by fear or self-doubt. The Stoics were way ahead of their time. What's remarkable is that the ancient Stoics knew this long before neuroscience confirmed it. They practiced a form of mental rehearsal called premeditatio malorum, the contemplation of what could go wrong, but not to catastrophize, to prepare. They also made time to reflect on the kind of person they aspired to be. Epictetus once said, "Practice yourself, for heaven's sake, in little things and then proceed to greater." Visualization is exactly that, practicing strength, clarity, and courage in your mind before life tests you. Real-world proof. Michael Phelps, even elite athletes use this method. Michael Phelps, one of the most decorated Olympians of all time, practiced visualization every single day. Not just before a race, not just during competition. Every single day. He would mentally rehearse every part of his swim, each stroke, each breath, every turn, down to the smallest detail. So when it came time to compete, his body didn't hesitate. Why? Because his mind had already been there. After visualizing success like an athlete before the race, the question becomes, how do we take that clarity and anchor it into real, lasting inner strength? The real power of mental rehearsal. The secret lies in this. You're not just thinking positively, you're mentally rehearsing success. You're training your mind to recognize and embody the version of you who already knows how to win. And here's the key. This isn't just a technique for Olympic swimmers or high-level performers. This is for you. Before that crucial meeting, before that honest conversation you've been dreading, before taking on that personal goal you keep postponing, take just 5 quiet minutes to envision the outcome you want. But don't just see it, feel it. Picture how you'll stand, how you'll breathe, how you'll respond to pressure, not with panic, but with poise. Make it vivid, make it real, make it feel so familiar that your body starts believing it's already happened. Even Marcus Aurelius, perhaps the most powerful man in the ancient world, used this technique. In his private journal, Meditations, he didn't simply leave his day up to chance. He mentally rehearsed how he wanted to behave, how to stay calm, wise, and in control before the world tested him. If it was good enough for a Roman emperor, isn't it worth a try for the rest of us? 1. Gratitude, the most underrated discipline. But there's one more thing. One final shift that turns a good morning into a powerful one. Gratitude. In a world constantly pulling your attention toward what's missing, what you lack, what you still haven't achieved, it's so easy to forget how much you already have. We're pushed to chase more success, more validation, more goals. But in that endless race, we often overlook what's already right in front of us. Gratitude isn't just a feel-good emotion. It's a mental discipline, a powerful practice that helps you stay grounded when everything around you feels chaotic or overwhelming, because your brain is wired to scan for problems. It's built for survival. If you don't take charge of your focus, it will default to what's broken, what's missing, what could go wrong. But if you pause even just for a minute and intentionally shift your awareness to what's good, what's working, what's still here, something begins to change. Your stress softens, your perspective expands, your day feels lighter, more manageable. The Stoic approach to gratitude. The Stoics understood this long before neuroscience confirmed it. Seneca wrote, "Nothing is more honorable than a grateful heart." To him, gratitude wasn't decoration. It was armor, a mental shield that helped him remain resilient in a world full of uncertainty. And when you choose to practice gratitude, especially when things are hard, unclear, or stressful, you reclaim your mental sovereignty. You prove to yourself that you don't need perfect conditions to find something worth appreciating. Even Carl Jung, observing the human psyche, echoed this idea. As Carl Jung reminded us, the act of choosing gratitude even in moments of uncertainty isn't just emotional. It's deeply transformative. And from that quiet shift in mindset, something powerful begins to unfold. Jung, through a psychological lens, believed that much of our suffering doesn't come from external circumstances but from disconnection. Disconnection from meaning, from self, from the present moment, and what reconnects us to all of it. Gratitude. Gratitude becomes the bridge that guides us back to what truly matters. It realigns us with purpose, centers us in the now, and reminds us that not everything valuable needs to be chased. Sometimes, it's already within us waiting to be noticed. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." And that journey, that sacred transformation, rarely begins with some dramatic breakthrough. More often, it starts with a soft, almost whispered realization that there is already so much within you and around you worth holding onto. Modern neuroscience now confirms what the ancient Stoics and philosophers seemed to know instinctively. Practicing gratitude even just a few minutes a day actually boosts dopamine and serotonin. Those feel-good brain chemicals that elevate your mood, sharpen your focus, and build emotional resilience. It also reduces cortisol, the stress hormone responsible for anxiety and overwhelm. Gratitude, then, isn't just emotional, it's biological. It literally changes how your brain filters the world. Instead of scanning for problems, your mind learns to spot potential, peace, and progress. Even Marcus Aurelius, amidst the burdens of leading an empire and enduring personal struggles, made time each day to reflect, to recenter, to intentionally turn his focus toward what was good, useful, and true. Not because his days were easy, but because clarity was essential. He once wrote, "Do not indulge in dreams of having what you have not, but reckon up the chief of the blessings you do possess." That mindset didn't make him soft, it made him steady, capable, wise. To find inner strength yet today, most of us wake up and immediately plunge into our to-do lists. We scramble through the morning, trying to outrun stress before it catches up. But what if you did the opposite? What if, instead of rushing into your day, you rooted yourself first, not in a task, but in a thought? Not just any thought, but one refined over centuries, one drawn from human experience, hardship, and truth. Stoic wisdom isn't ancient for tradition's sake. It's timeless because it works. The beauty of Stoicism lies in its simplicity. It doesn't ask you to escape life's chaos. It invites you to face it clearly, calmly, with strength. Sometimes, all it takes is one sentence, one powerful line from Marcus Aurelius or Epictetus, carried with you like a compass, can keep you centered when the world starts to spin. Marcus once said, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." Let that settle in for a moment. The thoughts you choose to carry aren't just background noise. They are the brushstrokes painting your character. They shape who you're becoming. So each morning, when you reflect on Stoic wisdom, you're not just reading words. You're choosing your colors. You're designing your day. You're deciding the person you're going to be. As Marcus Aurelius reminded us, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. So what happens when you begin choosing those colors with intention? When you start your morning by deliberately choosing your thoughts, you're no longer just reacting to life, you're preparing for it. It's like slipping into emotional armor before stepping into the world. Just one clear, centered Stoic idea in the morning can set the psychological tone for your entire day. You're not waiting to see how you'll respond to setbacks, interruptions, or criticism. You've already decided. You've rehearsed your response not with anxiety, but with clarity. And in that clarity, you find power. Instead of flinching, you move with intention. Instead of spinning in circles, you return to center. That's what Epictetus meant when he said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." And this isn't just philosophical advice. It's deeply psychological. Carl Jung emphasized the importance of daily inner reflection. He believed that if we don't take time to consciously examine our inner world, our unconscious patterns take over, quietly guiding our actions without our awareness. He once wrote, "Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakes." This kind of reflection, then, is more than a morning habit. It's psychological self-defense. You don't need a full hour. You don't need to write a novel. You don't even need a meditation cushion. Just choose a quote. One sentence. One idea that speaks to you. Read it. Sit with it. Ask yourself, not in an abstract or lofty way, but practically, what does this mean for me today? How does it apply to that meeting you're nervous about? To the relationship that's testing your patience? To the challenge you keep postponing? Stoicism was never meant to be confined to books. It's meant to live in your decisions. And the more you do this small practice of daily contemplation, the more grounded you become. You'll start to notice when your mind wants to spiral into drama, when your ego wants to lash out, when your fears try to hijack the wheel. And in those moments, you return not to willpower, but to that one sentence, the quiet thought you began your day with, a simple phrase that becomes a stabilizing force, gently pulling you back to yourself. 1. Connect with nature, because, let's be honest, there's a kind of exhaustion that sleep can't fix. It's the weariness that builds when your life is lived entirely indoors, under fluorescent lights, behind glowing screens, surrounded by noise. Your mind stays overstimulated. Your body becomes neglected. And almost without realizing it, you begin to disconnect from the world, from your body, and eventually from yourself. When your mind feels overwhelmed and disconnected from your own center, sometimes the most effective solution isn't found inside but just outside your door. The answer isn't more productivity. It's not about adding another hack, another app, or another jolt of stimulation. Often, The simplest remedy is stepping outside. Yes, it sounds basic, so basic it might be easy to dismiss. But just a few quiet minutes outdoors, breathing in real air, feeling the weight of your feet grounded to the earth, letting the sunlight or even rain touch your skin, can shift your entire internal state. It's not about escaping a room. It's about reconnecting with something ancient, something primal, something essential. Because long before cities, schedules, and screens, there were seasons, there was birdsong, there was wind, soil, and sky. And though our lives have evolved, our nervous systems haven't fully caught up. We are still wired for that world even if we don't live in it anymore. The Stoics understood this well. For all their intellect, they never viewed themselves as separate from nature. In fact, their entire philosophy revolved around aligning with it. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "Adapt yourself to the life you have been given, and truly love the people with whom destiny has surrounded you." That includes the world itself, the earth, the air, the changing seasons. To them, nature wasn't just scenery, it was a teacher. It was a reminder that everything flows, everything changes, and everything is connected. A fallen leaf, a sunrise, a gust of wind, all carried wisdom. If we paused long enough to notice, Carl Jung echoed this insight from a psychological perspective. He believed that modern suffering was not only the result of trauma or stress, but of disconnection from the natural world itself. Natural life is the nourishing soil of the soul, he said. When we lose contact with that soil, both literally and metaphorically, we begin to feel untethered, restless, uncertain. And maybe that's why just 5 minutes in a park or a short walk among trees can calm your system more effectively than hours of thinking ever could. No, you don't need to escape to the mountains or book a silent retreat. You can begin with something small. Step outside in the morning. Feel the crispness or warmth in the air. Look up at the sky. Notice the color of the leaves, the sound of birds, the stillness beneath it all. Don't turn it into another task to check off. Let it be what it is, a quiet, grounding reminder of what still exists outside the curated chaos of your inbox and your calendar. The Greek philosopher Heraclitus once wrote, "Nature loves to hide, but it's not hiding from you. It's right there, waiting, offering stillness, beauty, perspective, and healing." And the more time you spend in it, even just a little each day, the less reactive you become, the less rushed everything feels, and the more human you begin to feel again. Nature might help you feel grounded, but sustaining clarity throughout your day also depends on how you fuel your body, starting from the very first fuel for your mind. When your mornings feel foggy, sluggish, or scattered, it's tempting to blame a lack of motivation or think you just need a stronger cup of coffee. But the truth runs deeper. You're asking a high-performance machine, your mind, to function on empty. We talk often about mindset, productivity, and discipline, but too easily we forget one basic truth. Your brain is not just an idea generator, it's a physical organ. And like any organ, it doesn't run on willpower alone. It runs on fuel. The kind of fuel you give it, especially in the morning, can set the tone for your entire day. Yet far too often, breakfast becomes the first casualty of a rushed schedule. You're running late, so you skip it. Or you grab something quick, sugary, processed, empty. Maybe it gives you a boost for an hour, but then the crash hits. The fog rolls in. Your focus slips. Your mood dips. And frustration follows. And it's not because you're lazy. It's not because you lack discipline. It's because your body was never given the foundation it needed to function fully. The Stoics would call it a form of self-neglect. Epictetus once said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." That mastery doesn't just apply to how we respond emotionally or ethically, it also applies to how we care for our physical form. Starting your day by honoring your body with real, nourishing food isn't a luxury. It's an act of self-respect, one that echoes into every area of your life. So what does that look like practically? It means giving your brain the nutrients it truly needs to function at its best. Proteins to stabilize blood sugar, healthy fats to support mental clarity, and hormonal balance, slow digesting. Whole foods that fuel your system evenly rather than spiking and crashing. Think eggs, avocados, Greek yogurt, oats, nuts, not donuts, soda, or those neon-colored energy drinks. When you choose intentional, nutrient-rich foods first thing in the morning, you're sending your mind a clear message. I showed up today, ready to perform. Carl Jung deeply believed in the mind-body connection. To him, the physical and psychological were intertwined, not separate. The mind is like the eye, he said. It cannot see itself without reflection. And part of that reflection includes how we nourish ourselves. What you feed your body influences more than your energy. It affects the quality of your thoughts, the steadiness of your emotions, and the clarity behind your choices. This isn't about guilt. It's not about striving for dietary perfection. It's about presence, awareness. Ask yourself, would you expect an athlete to train on an empty stomach? Would you trust a surgeon to operate while lightheaded and unfocused? Then why expect yourself to think clearly, lead effectively, or navigate challenges when your most basic needs are unmet? 1. Speak life into your day, and let's not forget, some mornings, the toughest battle isn't getting out of bed. It's facing that quiet voice that greets you before your feet even touch the floor. That subtle critic, the one that replays yesterday's mistakes and whispers doubt before the day has even begun. It's not loud, but it's persistent. And if you don't answer it, if you don't meet it with strength, presence, and care, it sets the tone for everything that follows. Just like a well-fueled body gives your thoughts clarity, the words you feed your mind each morning can shape the emotional tone for your entire day. That's why affirmations aren't just fluffy feel-good exercises. When practiced with sincerity, they're deliberate psychological counterattacks. They act as your verbal armor, your mental shield. You're not just speaking words, you're rewriting the internal script that's been quietly steering your behavior for years. You're choosing thoughts that align not with your fears, but with your future. You're practicing becoming the version of yourself you aspire to be. Marcus Aurelius understood this deeply. As the emperor of Rome, he didn't start his days with loud declarations to the world. He began with quiet but powerful declarations to himself. In Meditations, he wrote, "The soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts." He knew what you repeat, what you focus on, what you whisper to yourself each morning. Those words don't just hover in the air. They begin to paint the canvas of your day. They shape your habits. They shape your perception. Eventually, they shape your identity. Affirmations are just tools for conscious coloring. They take only a few seconds to say, but their echo ripples through the way you speak, the way you move, the way you carry yourself throughout the day. Something as simple as "I control how I respond," or "Today, I choose clarity over chaos," might sound awkward at first, but don't underestimate the power of your own voice. Your brain is always listening even when it's you doing the talking. Carl Jung saw this from a psychological lens. He once wrote, "Words are animals, alive, with a will of their own." He believed language holds power not just to express who we are, but to shape who we become. When you speak words of direction, strength, or calm, you're not just filling the air, you're filling yourself. You're reminding your subconscious who's in charge. This doesn't mean you have to scream affirmations into a mirror. You don't need corny slogans that don't resonate with you. What matters is truth, sincerity. Say things that stretch you but still feel anchored in who you want to be. Don't toss them off lightly. Speak them as if you're planting seeds in the soil of your own mind, and say them out loud, not just silently in your head. Because sound carries energy, vibration reinforces belief. And when your own voice declares peace, courage, or confidence, it's harder for doubt to interrupt. Even if your voice trembles, say it anyway. Because you're not speaking for the version of you that exists right now, you're speaking for the person you're becoming. Seneca once said, "We become brave by doing brave acts." The same is true for confidence. You don't wait to feel confident to speak with conviction. You speak with conviction even when you feel uncertain. And slowly, word by word, day by day, you become it. That's the power of affirmations. One of the simplest, most direct ways to practice that bravery. Not someday, but now. Not for the whole day, just for the morning. Because the way you begin, that's how you live. Every small choice, every quiet moment of awareness echoes across the hours to come. Strength, clarity, peace. They're not found, they're practiced. If this message sparked something inside you, there's another video waiting right now on the screen. And something tells me it's exactly what you need next. Thank you for spending time with Stoic Capsule, where we don't chase perfection. We train for presence. Until next time, stay steady, stay grounded, and keep walking the quiet path forward.